What a night last night.
It was a great night. I loved it, like I said, that he was the first one announced. I was absolutely convinced he was in. Anybody that watched his career as we did knew he was in. His footwork, he wasn't, the biggest and the strongest, but he was the best. His footwork, it was so rare when he got beat, it became a highlight. Yeah. Like, I remember ESPN one time was so shocked when he did get blown off on a snap that they actually included that in their highlight reel because they said this is something you don't see every day. And it wasn't. And congratulations to Joe. I was kind of surprised he was there. I thought in typical Joe Thomas fashion, they would say Joe couldn't be with us tonight because he's fishing on a lake in Wisconsin with Pops. Because that's what he did when he was drafted #1 overall. Your guys' thoughts on Joe, his career, and where he ranks. Because I think this is the question. He's a first-timer. I think he's the only left tackle ever to get in on the first ballot. Am I wrong on that?
He was the seventh, I believe seventh. The Browns tweeted this out yesterday. And let me read it.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, Joe Thomas, the seventh first ballot tackle to be seventh. Joins Jackie Slater, Jim Parker, Forrest Gregg, Walter Jones, Anthony Munoz, and Jonathan Ogden.
I mean, that is
a who's who
of
elite.
The Mount Rushmore of
great left tackles.
How was Jonathan Ogden not a one or Orlando Pace?
Yeah, Orlando Pace was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
It has to be. What?
That is from Dan Murphy, Brown's PR guy.
Dan's pretty reliable.
Okay.
He's very reliable.
Yeah.
My recollection is was the first was in on his first ballot.
I'll double check that
right
now.
He got in, that's a good point.
Guys, I got to say, obviously you know Joe Thomas personally. I've met Joe a little bit, but I don't know him personally as well as you do. But not only was Joe a consummate professional, consummate Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of Fame person as well. Yeah, great guy, treated everybody nicely. Like, whenever you met Joe, it wasn't like, oh, I'm talking to some big shot here.
Right.
He made you feel comfortable. Like, when I first came to Cleveland and we would interview Joe Thomas, I'm like, oh, my God, it's Joe Thomas. Like, he's a legend.
Well, he didn't know McNuggets from a hole in the wall.
Right.
Look how he treated McNuggets first time he was on the program.
He makes you feel comfortable. He was so down to earth. He was a great teammate. You heard what DeQuell Jackson said about him with us. You've heard Joe Batonio talk about him. Every player that played with Joe Thomas loved Joe. I never heard of anybody say a bad word about Joe Thomas. He's a family man. He stayed, even like some people criticized him, not here, that he didn't want to get traded and go play. He loved being a Cleveland Brown.
Do we all know I'm assuming we all know it, but maybe not, the infamous story, the famous story about Peyton Manning's phone call to him?
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, to sum him up, his play speaks for itself. Put in the tape, that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I loved him from jump because he didn't go to the draft, and he passed on the glitz and the glamour because he wanted to spend the most important day of his life to that point with his dad doing what he loves to do more than anything, fishing. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that story, I spent countless hours fishing with my father on Lake Erie. When I heard that story, I immediately felt like I knew Joe Thomas. I felt like he didn't care about the limelight. He didn't care about the New York and the big day and what suit am I going to overspend for that I'll wear once. He didn't care about any of that nonsense. He said, this is going to be a momentous occasion in my life. How do I want to spend it? Yeah. Not how do those around me want me to spend it. And he did it that way. And the other story, which I guess we've all heard, I'll share it for the audience for the sake of those that haven't heard it. He had many opportunities. He could have left Cleveland on multiple different occasions. One in particular was the Denver Broncos had worked a trade with the Cleveland Browns for Joe Thomas. Peyton Manning was in Denver. They knew that this was a Super Bowl caliber team.
Yep.
What do you need for Peyton Manning to make sure you win the Super Bowl? A left tackle that you can count on that will his bodyguard. They worked the deal. Joe listened to the trade and said, no, I think I'm good. I want to stay with my teammates.
Yeah.
I want to stay with the city and the team that gave me my opportunity. And then Peyton Manning called. And Peyton said, putting on the pressure, come to Denver, Joe. No one's going to look badly upon you for doing that. Mm-hmm. You deserve to play in a playoff game. You deserve to make a Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, that Broncos team ended up winning the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And Joe probably in his heart of hearts knew that he could have gone there and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But he passed on all of that to stay here. And that's why forever and always he will be one of my favorite professional athletes, any sport.
So by the way, before you do that, Brad, Orlando Pace actually had to wait 3 years before he got in.
Can't believe that.
Joe Thomas is, and they got him ranked. They got like a legend score.
Orlando was the #1 overall pick, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they got him, and Jonathan Ogden was not what's the name either, first ballot. So.
Oh, I thought you'd read Jonathan Ogden as one of the guys that was the first ballot.
That was according to Dan Murphy's email.
Nope. Facts. So he up there. He up
So
top.
when did Ogden get in? How many years?
Ooh, I could look that up. Go ahead, Brad.
Well, no, I was just going to say that, it reminded me when you're talking about Joe Thomas, you have to give him extra kudos for staying around Cleveland, right? He didn't have to be. And then when you talked about not going to the draft, I know what that felt like because I did not go myself, right?
Really?
Top 9 picks. I did not go. I did not go to New York.
What was your reasoning for not wanting to go?
My reasoning was this. It's funny. If you look back in the 86 draft, 2 people that did not go, Ron Harper and myself. And so Ron and I were friends.
Sure.
And so we were represented by the same people, and we had the same inkling. I was not going to New York because I wanted my family and friends who had seen me along the journey, because you couldn't take everybody with you.
Sure.
Right.
You wanted to spend it with the people that mattered most to you.
I spent it right in.
I think that speaks so loudly for you.
I spent it right in Warrensville in my mother's basement, and with all my family and friends. We were watching on the console TV, not no flat screen.
Yeah, the
right?
old big, the floor monitor.
The floor model.
Yeah.
With the turn dial.
It was like a piece of furniture with a TV in
They
there.
had the one dial for the UHF channels and one for the VHF channels.
Did you have any regrets at any point, like during the draft? Did you
not
think,
going back?
It would be fun to be there?
No.
Never. You were where you were supposed
I
to
was
be.
where I was supposed to be, right? I was where I was supposed to be. And
Kudos to you.
The funny thing about it, I get picked by the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls at number 9. The Pistons had the 11 pick, and they thought I was going to the Pistons because the Pistons had announced they were going to take me. So I had 2 TV stations with the satellite trucks in front of my mother's house in Warrensville, ready to broadcast from Detroit.
That's funny.
Oh yes.
Surprises happen on
But
draft
so
day.
when Joe talked about he wouldn't spend time with us, I get it. I don't know. You got to go over there and do that thing over there. That
I
thing
think that's commendable. And the other thing too, and I don't want to turn this into a bash LeBron session, but as I think 2 of the most accomplished athletes to come through Cleveland in the last perhaps 50 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say ever because that would include Jim Brown's era, but I would say in the last 50 years, they are Joe Thomas and LeBron James.
Yeah, there's no question.
And if you look at the decisions they made from a career standpoint, Joe was not from Cleveland, but made the decision at great sacrifice to stay here because he felt he owed something to the people of Cleveland, where LeBron was from Northeast Ohio, from Akron, and twice left.
Yeah. The only beef I have with Joe Thomas is it's really obnoxious how thin he is now.
He's got it all now.
I mean, it's just really
he's got looks, he's got fitness.
I know.
He's got
great
a full
on TV.
jacket.
He's great on TV. He has a good sense of humor. He's not afraid to self-deprecate.
Yeah.
And
he says things too.
Yeah.
Which I love. A lot of the guys that are in his position
are scared
feel like
to be
they
overly
don't
critical.
need the job, they don't need the money, they're going to just kind of sugarcoat stuff. I remember a couple of occasions. One was the Jeff Saturday incident where he came out swinging against a fellow offensive lineman.
Right.
And they tend to stick together, and he just came out and said, this is nonsense.
Well,
this
Joe,
guy doesn't deserve to be the coach.
I think it's clear, anybody that knows Joe at all, and there's Bernie in the background, that Joe doesn't do anything halfway, right? He goes, I don't know that Joe, obviously Joe it would be stupid to say he's not physically gifted. He's incredibly physically gifted.
Absolutely.
But I don't know that he's the most physically gifted player of all time.
But he got the most out of his
But he
gifts.
got the most because nobody outworked him.
Yeah.
Nobody outstudied him. He holds the Browns record for most consecutive snaps, right? He
10,
played till he couldn't
No, not
play.
the Browns record, the NFL record.
The NFL record, sorry.
Yeah, 10,363.
His career was remarkable. In a sea of garbage that he had to play with, he played with very few good teammates. He had DeQuell, who was a really good teammate. He had Joe Hayden. There were a couple other guys along the way, but he didn't get to play with a lot of good players. He didn't get to play with a single good quarterback. It's
he
a
tells
shame.
the story where he had to introduce himself to one of the quarterbacks
There's
in
the
the
list.
huddle of a game.
Do you want me to
Look
read
at
these
that.
names for you guys?
Look at that.
The
I think it was
quarterbacks that Joe Thomas blocked for in his career. And there's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Charlie Fry, Derek Anderson, Ken Dorsey, Brady Quinn, Bruce Gradkowski, Colt McCoy, Jake Delhomme, Seneca Wallace, Brandon Whedon, Thaddeus Lewis, Jason Campbell, Brian Hoyer, Johnny Manziel, Connor Shaw, Josh McCown, Austin Davis.
I mean, that you can't have a worse list than that.
Hold that.
It's impossible.
Keep that list up, because the ironic and funny thing about this is that at some point along the way, we believed that each and every one of them was going to deliver.
Boy.
Well, I don't know about that.
Boy.
But some of them definitely.
Seneca Wallace,
The Browns-
Colt McCoy,
Yeah, no, there were 4
Brady
or 5 of them.
Quinn,
Oh, no, they're about 6. I can give you
But I'll tell you
6.
this.
Manziel.
Even on his draft announcement, when
Yeah.
he came in for the eventual news conference, he was the number 3 overall pick. He was overshadowed by Brady Quinn. Remember,
Yeah.
the Browns worked
Yeah.
that deal
Yeah.
to get Brady to move
Yeah.
up again in the first round and take Brady Quinn. And Brady's kind of stole the spotlight. Everybody wanted to know about Brady Quinn, the Notre Dame quarterback.
Brady
I mean,
Quinn-
who is the best quarterback on that list?
Brady Quinn was hot
Derek
dog.
Anderson is the
Derek
best
Anderson.
here.
Yeah.
By the way,
I would actually argue that Jason Campbell might be the best quarterback career-wise,
They-
which is sad because
they
he's not
try-
very good.
they
Or Josh McCown, maybe.
Come on.
Did Joe Thomas ever catch a touchdown pass?
Nah.
I don't think so, but I don't
Y'all
remember.
tried that. Y'all tried that. Can I get that list again?
What?
We're going to go up there. The funny thing about Brad, y'all tried to dismiss that.
What?
Oh, no, y'all thought a lot of these dudes was good.
We didn't think
Yeah.
Ken Dorsey was the savior. Charlie Fry.
Derek Anderson,
Yeah.
they knew it.
Keep
Okay.
coming.
Wait,
Come on,
not
G.
Fry.
Come on, G.
Hold
No.
not
Come
Dorsey.
on, G.
Hold on.
Come
no
on, G.
filibustering. There's Derek Anderson.
Yes.
Brady Quinn.
Yes.
Colt McCoy.
Yes.
Who
Not
else?
the next guys.
Seneca Wallace.
No.
People
Nobody
like
thought Seneca
Seneca.
No,
Wallace.
nobody
And-
likes Seneca.
Yes,
Wallace.
yes,
Hey,
they
hold on.
did.
And the
Yes,
black
they
community-
All right, the
did.
black
Yes,
community
they did.
actually
We took
Oh.
Seneca
Okay,
Wallace.
but,
Yes,
but-
they
but
did.
that's what 20% of the population here.
all right.
That's not. I knew what Seneca
Brandon
Wallace
Whedon.
was when I saw him
Brandon
throw
Whedon.
I
5
thought
passes.
Brandon Whedon.
Hold
I
on,
thought
hold
Brandon
on.
Yeah,
Whedon.
keep coming back.
Brandon Whedon, yes.
I thought
Brandon
Brandon
Whedon.
Whedon.
No, he was 28 when they drafted
I
him.
still thought he was going to be good.
Come back
I
to the
did.
list. Bring that list back up. Bring that
Brian
list back
Hoyer.
up.
Brian Hoyer, yes.
Bring that list
It's
back
about
up.
10
My
of them.
man Dustin Fox wanted to give him a contract extension.
Hoyer,
That was
Manziel,
6.
That's
Josh
it.
That's it.
McCown.
That's
No, Josh McCown was
That's
old.
6. Hell, that's a third of the list.
You know the beautiful part about this? We still got, what's the dude that came from Notre Dame? I thought he was going to be something.
Oh,
Kaiser.
Deshaun
No, I don't
Kaiser.
know that he ever.
He's a
he-
tool.
Yeah, but he never blocked. He never
Look,
played with
look,
Kaiser.
look,
did
look.
he?
You talking about drinking the Kool-Aid.
How is
Kaiser's
Kaiser's
not on
name
that
not
list.
on that list?
That's wrong. That list is wrong.
Reflog.
Yeah.
Because he blocked for Deshaun Kaiser.
He did block for Deshaun
Joe
Kaiser.
Thomas blocked for Deshaun
Yeah.
Kaiser?
Yes, he
Listen,
did.
And RG3, didn't he?
here's the thing. I
think you're right.
Here's the thing. RG. Yes, there's more. There's more.
Let's
quarterbacks
double check
than
that list. I think it's more.
Here's the
Oh,
thing.
you know what? It's a 2-tweet list. There wasn't enough time.
Bad job by
Wasn't
you.
enough character.
Show us
No,
the other
bad
rest of
job
the
by
list.
Tag Board for not letting us put 2 in.
Can we see the second
Can we
list?
see that second
Yeah,
list?
give us a second. We just got
I
to
knew it's two
Yeah.
more on there.
It's a
It's
couple
probably
more
like 8
people
more.
that we was amped up about.
And not one of them is any good.
Trent Dilfer.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
here.
that,
It gets cut off.
Right.
The 3 names that are the names that are cut off that list that you couldn't see because the take it again full Steve.
Kaiser,
Drop
Dilfer, and
the-
RG3.
Drop the topic bar, please.
okay, boom.
You still can't see it.
No.
Drop the logo. You still can't see it because Tag Board sucks. But the names this cuts off at Austin Davis. He also blocked for Robert Griffin III,
Yeah.
Cody Kessler, Deshaun Kaiser, and Kevin Hogan.
Okay, who all suck too?
There was one other one. RG3.
Yeah,
said
it's
who-
on there.
yeah,
He's
he said
on there.
RG3.
Who was the other one? Because we had named 3 that he hadn't. Deshaun
I just named
Kaiser,
4 that- I just named
RG3.
4.
Trent
You said-
Dilfer.
Did he get Dilfer? He had to be in there before Charlie Fry.
Maybe that was the year before Joe Thomas?
I don't know. What year did Dilfer play for the Browns?
I'm
Maybe
on
it was 06.
It might have been the year before.
Brown.
him.
He played for the Browns in 05.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our bad then.
But still, that's like, 15, 20 guys?
Yeah.
Not one of them was any good, career-wise.
He couldn't find one.
Now, Derek Anderson did have a good year here.
He did.
That 1 year was sensational, but it was 1
And
year.
everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid.
And now I will say what's most
I was.
impressive.
Yeah.
They have Joe. I guess this is. I don't know if this is affiliated with Hall of Fame future football legends. They have Joe Thomas rated as the 58th best player of all time.
Wow.
Now, and by the way, Jonathan Ogden was a first round.
Yes, he was a first ballot guy.
Yeah.
However, they have him rated 3 spots ahead of Ogden. He was 61.
Yeah.
Walter Jones is a tackle, and he's at 50.
Munoz has to be higher,
Yeah,
right?
Munoz
Anthony
probably is the
Munoz.
highest. I would say
Yeah.
he's the highest.
Yeah, Anthony Munoz. Let's see where.
I mean, he's
Anthony-
widely regarded as the
As
best,
the best
ever.
tackle.
Oh, they have. He got indoctrinated in 98. They have him rated 77.
Oh,
Wow.
Munoz is below.
Then
Munoz?
Munoz.
Is there an offensive lineman higher on this list? Who did this list?
future football legends. I don't know if they're affiliated with the Hall of Fame, but
That
if you go
sounds
there,
like a shady list to me.
I've never heard of them.
it might be. Look, but I will say this.
Yeah.
Joe Thomas looks like, because I thought Orlando Pace was first ballot. He wasn't.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to hit on the Hall of Fame, guys, real quick. Two other players. Joe Klecko, I was surprised it took him this long to get in. He was a great player for the New York Sack Exchange back in the day.
He and Gaston.
And Ken Riley, when I was a young boy, Ken Riley was one of my favorite players. And what a shame. The guy was on the ballot for fifth all time in interceptions.
Yep.
35 years on the ballot. He just died like 2 years ago, and now he gets in.
That's
and I hope
crazy.
the same thing
Disgrace.
doesn't happen with Clay Matthews.
It better not happen to Clay
That would
Matthews,
suck. There's no
because-
reason. If Ken Riley's been a Hall of Famer, there's no reason it shouldn't have taken 35 years for him
Now,
to get in.
this too, he played in an era when interceptions were a thing. Like, if you go back
But
and you look
true,
at Terry
but still fifth
Bradshaw's
all
numbers,
time.
quarterbacks threw so many
Agreed,
more.
Jay, but he's still fifth all time.
I was going to say that. I was
Yeah.
going to set that up by saying, yes, when you look at his interception total and you look at them compared to today's standards,
Right, it's-
they're
yeah.
eye-popping.
Right.
But even in his day, he was a ball hawk.
Yes, no doubt.
And another guy that was Tom Darden, who played here.
Yeah.
Tom Darden
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in that same sort of era.
Yeah.
And Tom
Yeah,
Darden
nice
used to
list.
get 5, 6, 7 interceptions a year, like nothing. And
Yeah.
now I think
It's
we figured
weird.
out the guy that with the leading I think somebody led the NFL this year with 4 or 5 interceptions.
Right. I think it was 4.
I
That's
mean,
nuts.
The
Yeah.
NFL, I will say this: the NFL, it's hard getting in there, bro. 'Cause
It is
when
real
I
hard.
looked at the finalists, now they got DeMarcus Ware in here, right?
Yeah.
But they skipped over Jared Allen. Jared Allen from
Wow.
Kansas City and Minnesota Vikings is a monster. Mind you, he got in, DeMarcus Ware got over Dwight Freeney.
Ooh.
You talking, yeah.
DeMarcus Ware was a hell of a
I mean, he was a hell of a
and played
player.
on some great
Dwight
teams,
Freeney will
and that
get in
helped.
eventually. Dwight
Zach
Freeney will
Thomas got in over Patrick Willis. Now, for me,
Zach Thomas has been waiting a while.
he's been waiting.
You know, I was surprised how
Bernie played with Zach Thomas.
he did. I
Yeah.
was surprised though how much the game is taken away from him today. Zach Thomas walked out there; he looked like a statue.
Hey,
I mean, he was in pain.
this Zach Thomas was. He was the
an
last.
Adonis.
He was the last of. He played with Zach Thomas undersized. Zach Thomas wasn't huge
For his position, he was, for sure.
and he was thumping.
But
for
did you notice
years.
how he moved last night when he came out on the stage?
Yeah.
All of them. did.
All of them did.
All of them.
And by the way, did you see Jim Brown?
Oh,
in the,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, Jim is.
Jim did not. I interviewed him 2 years ago, a lengthy, probably hour and a half sit-down interview. Spent a lot of time with him. He was still very, very sharp mentally.
Mm-hmm.
He looked good. Now, obviously, you know, he's in his 80s, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for and he, you know, just I know he only played 9 seasons, but man, did he run to contact, and he had a lot of collisions. But I thought to myself, and I even said as he was walking into the room to sit down with me, I even said, "You still move really well." And he said, "For my age and what I've been through, I do." But when they showed him last night, I thought, "Oh, he doesn't."
Jim Brown will turn 87 a week from today.
There is. And here's how I knew it was. It reminded me because I saw something. There was a picture that I think my grandmother and my aunt used to have. She used to have a picture with Bill Cosby, Muhammad Ali. It was Jim Brown and Bill Russell, right?
Wow.
And so she has this picture, and the crazy thing I saw is, you know, there was like an E extra or something. Bill Cosby's completely blind, like he can't see.
Right.
Muhammad Ali, obviously, he, you know, with his disease.
Yeah.
The one that looks, you know, Bill Russell is deceased, and Jim Brown is in that picture. So I mean,
Yeah.
I was surprised because I, like you, I had just saw him a couple years ago, and I don't think it was a Ring of Honor or something.
He was here for something.
So it was a Ring of
and
Honor.
that was when I interviewed him, when he was here. We
Yeah.
sat down
Adam
and had a
Richmond.
long interview, and it was great. And by the way, I think finally the NFL got it right. They renamed the award for the NFL's rushing leader the Jim Brown Award.
Yeah.
What the hell took that so long? Who knows?